Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Lara Johnson from Yellow Brick Physical Therapy in Boulder, Colorado. And welcome to another episode of SuperSoul Boulder, where I'm on a journey to help as many people as possible experience sustained freedom of movement with confidence and ease. And so that's why I love talking on Monday nights about anything and everything. Hey Carlos, great to see you. Anything and everything related to the body and life, right? Mind, body, sport is a metaphor for life is a metaphor for how the body, just there's all this stuff, right? So the body is what I've studied for so long, but my personal inspiration comes from how does that relate to our lives? How are we growing as people? How are we bettering ourselves? How are we living lives that aren't over stressing us out, all that stuff. So tonight I'm really excited to dive into this topic around acting versus waiting. Now this is totally re-inspired, I should say, by the Hamilton musical. So you're thanks, Carlos. Oh, that's so sweet for your enrichment. Well, thank you to you too. So I got to see the Hamilton musical a couple years ago live in Denver, and then it just came out, and fortunately my sister and brother-in-law, who have 2 young kids, have Disney Plus, and we got to watch the movie again, and it's just as brilliant and amazing as always, and has me going again with all of the incredible songs, and they've been kind of going through my mind, as well as awesome videos that other genius people have put together that kind of open up and lay out these themes in ways that is like equally as creative and intelligent, and kind of blows my mind. So one of which is kind of what's inspired this talk tonight, is from a guy who it's called Make Stuff, and he did this amazing video. I might drop the YouTube link in this after the show here, but he's laying out the motifs in Hamilton, and with that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is even more brilliant than I even felt or understood those the times experiencing it for myself. And so if you haven't seen Hamilton, you can certainly listen to it on Spotify or Google it. It's just brilliant. The music is amazing. It won't ruin an experience of seeing it otherwise. Hey, Jonathan, if you guys have seen it, drop a comment, drop a like, because I want to know, hey, Dan, great to see you. If you guys have been as inspired as me by this genius piece of work. I'm talking about Hamilton the musical, which has inspired this talk and got me thinking about this concept, acting versus waiting, and in our own lives, where does that fit, right? Where do we do what? How does that work? So we're going to dive into this and open it up a good bit and be inspired. One other thing I just want to offer is, as a longtime runner, an athlete, I was so near, and actually Dan, we talked about this a little earlier, so I'll credit you for some of this in ongoing inspiration. It's easy in our lives if we get really focused, and focus is a good thing, but we can get really focused in one area and become more one-dimensional. To use a quote from Dan here, who's watching, who's amazing. And so what I'd love to offer us is being more multidimensional and being inspired by art and music and theater. One thing I realized when I quote unquote stopped and restarted running, because I really hadn't done that, is I remembered how much I loved some of these other things that I wasn't giving myself time for. And maybe that feeds in a little bit to this topic. So acting versus waiting. Where in your body, where in your life are you taking action? Some people, right, there's probably a spectrum here in different areas and different times in our lives where we act and act and act. We go and we go and we go and we go. And we push through and we, keep doing. And hey Tina, and there are other times where we wait and we ignore, and we maybe go plugging along on the same path and the same patterns. And so let me jump back to the musical for a moment. I don't think there are any spoilers in here. I'm not going to give away the whole story, but just some of the overarching themes, but maybe a slight alert to that going on. But in the musical Hamilton, which is genius and amazing, and the more you listen or watch it, the more you can kind of pull out of it, and so many different things about it. But one thing that I find so fascinating is understanding these two opposing men, Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr, and how they have very similar courses, very similar backgrounds, both being orphans, both really wanting to make a difference in this new country. Like, a lot of similarities. They're actually around each other. They're friends at various points, and but one main difference is that the musical lays out really nicely, is that by the brilliant Lin-Manuel Miranda, of course, that where Alexander Hamilton tends to take action. There's a song called Nonstop where he's, why are you writing like you're running out of time? He's just, probably inspired and motivated, and he's doing these things and feels like he's got to get it out there, got to get these things done. While Aaron Burr tends to hold back and wait, and he's got everything to lose. And so he doesn't want to, so to speak, mess anything up by taking the wrong action, and so he waits. And then there's the great part of this whole story is that there's a juxtaposition at the end where each does the thing they're not used to doing, and it disrupts their lives too. Backtracking just a bit, those tendencies that each of them have lead to a problem in their lives, lead to a downfall, lead to something really challenging happening for them. And at the very end, when each of them does the opposite of what they normally do, it also leads to a downfall, a challenge, hardship. And I think that's important to understand, but it's also part of what helps us relate so powerfully to these people that, at least for me in a history book, I couldn't relate to. And something about art allows us to do that, modern take on something we've all known about or felt for a long time. So let's draw this into our own lives, right? So in what areas are you acting? Are you taking action? Are you moving and continuing on? Sometimes it's kind of a rote thing, right? So if you're really into exercise, you may be just keeping going. I have to keep going. If I don't keep going, I'm going to lose something. What times have you continued to do that where it does begin to hurt you? I've experienced that. I kept running. I wanted to keep up with my training group. I wanted to be able to race fast at the same level or higher level than I was, and it kept getting me injured. So there's a kind of action there, right? But at what point does it become more a rote action or a fear-based action or, not necessarily the most intelligent thing, not taking into account all of the information that's going on, all of what's going on in your body, all of what's going on in your life, right? And there are other times where we may wait for something to change. Okay, I'm just going to keep going and expect something to be different, even though we're doing the same things. So back to I love talking about injuries because that's what I deal with all the time. I see patients all the time, or I talk with people all the time, who have basically waited because they thought, oh, this pain will go away and this will get better. And so often, I see this so often where I'll meet someone who's older, and it's like, if we had just handled this problem, if I met you, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 2 years ago, 2 months ago, we could have saved you from this outcome that got worse, saved you from a problem that was small before to something that's become bigger. Pointing fingers at me, I don't know. Just a lot of people. You're not alone, Ace. It happens all the time, right? We just expect it to get better, and we're kind of distracted by all these things, right? That we may not know what to do. But then in that not doing, we're not taking action, and then we're hurting ourselves that way also. One great example is with back pain. Like, it's so simple. I'm so clear on how to resolve this problem quickly. Thank you. How to resolve this problem quickly. But I see so many people just ignore it or not understand or go get quick fixes. And then they wind up with a disc herniation or a much more severe problem than where it started. If we just release a muscle on the front side, not where the symptoms are, we can open up a hole. You can be moving more freely, so much more easily, and then you'll know what to do if something, crops up again. And you'll know what to do. So it's kind of like taking the right action is important. And then waiting can also mean patience, right? And so this is where I don't think it's either or. Now, I strongly believe that all truths in life are paradoxical. kind of like, here's an example I really like is this, when it comes to you and maybe the planet Earth, you're both significant and insignificant at the same time, right? So paradoxical. So it's not about whether you're the type of person who takes action or you're the type of person who tends to wait, right? It's more like when are we doing these things? Are you doing one or the other that's hurting you? I know a really successful PT entrepreneur friend who's amazing. He's this amazing guy. And he has this incredible story where he was pushing himself so hard in business, in sport. I think he was starting to train for half marathons. He was pushing himself so hard. He had 4 seizures in 3 years. And you could look at that and go, wow, he really pushed himself. But I know I have a tendency to be able to push myself, but I don't want to do that to myself. I don't want to hurt myself like that, right? Especially if I'm aware. Justin, hey, great to see you. I don't want to hurt myself like that. And then other times, I can't think of an example. There are experiences in my life where I'm waiting, or that is what I mentioned about, we're waiting for something to change, waiting for our body to take care of itself without really looking at it, right? Without really shining a light and going, let me just get to the bottom of this. And if I get to the bottom of this, it'll probably more quickly be resolved. But so often, don't you find that we all, where in your life are you allowing those hidden corners to stay hidden? Are you not aware of the things that you're doing that are hurting you because you're just kind of in this rote stuck pattern, this rote stuck, maybe we're unconscious to those things. So we want to become more conscious to our own limitations. We want to become more conscious to the things we might think are strengths could also be a limitation. For the longest time as an athlete, I really felt like a big strength of mine, and it's not untrue, was my motivation and determination and ability to continue to go, the ability to run marathons and go fast and do, loving to show up to practice and loving to work out. And that is a strength. And at the same time, it also hurt me a lot of the time. It was also really hard for me for a long time to pull back, to take care of my body rather than expecting my body to be able to do everything that I threw at it and then be frustrated with it for not. But wait a second, look what I was asking of it. Oh my gosh. Look, I was asking so much of it. It makes sense that it would break down at some points. And then it doesn't make sense to just wait or ignore it. But we tend to do that, right? If we want certain other things, if we need to prove something, if we're so driven in our heart or in our mind, like I need to do this for whatever reasons. We all have lots of different reasons for that. Sometimes it's running away from something. Sometimes it's wanting recognition. Sometimes we can't even see that in ourselves. But it's important to look. And there's the action that's important. And action might be looking and asking yourself, what is this? What is my motivation here? Why do I still have this back pain and I'm not really, I'm trying things and they're working temporarily. Now I know that, but I'm not doing anything about it that's different. I'm not finding out how to resolve this. Personally, I wasn't satisfied with, it's another great song in Hamilton. Every time I hear a song that resonates with that musical, I'm like, it kind of comes back in. Yeah, I was never satisfied with these rote answers, these rote, here's the protocol for dealing with this particular problem. Here's the protocol for, if someone comes in with back pain, we do this, and someone has ankle pain, we do this. Well, what if you're just doing strengthening for your ankle, for an ankle injury? Well, that might make it stronger, but it may not actually solve the problem, especially if a whole pattern issue with how your posture is and how your walking gait is moving and how your running stride is going. What about all that? What about why did it get this way in the first place? And how can I keep it from coming back again? There's action there. And then in that action, in that consistency of you're taking action on the things you need to, maybe it's the habits you're performing every day to help yourself heal or to help yourself improve or to help yourself find personal growth ongoingly. There's action, and then there's waiting in the patience of wait, there's patience in the waiting for those results to bring, to kind of be seen, to be known. So one thing I love about the story behind that musical, Hamilton, what Lin-Manuel Miranda did, this is an assumption, I really don't know, but the thing I see in what happened is he wanted to, thanks guys, he wanted to, this piece of art came through me. He's very inspired by the story of one of our founding fathers. And I think, again, I'm relating to it this way. It may or may not be true for this man who made this incredible thing with a lot of amazing people and collaborators, I'm sure, is that he took action to take those steps, you know? And I'm sure lots of people were like, what do you mean, a rap musical about like founding fathers and multicultural? Wow. How would that work, right? I'm sure that came up a lot for him maybe, but you take the action, you create something, and then, you know, 7 years later, the patience of seeing the fruits of that, I'm sure, came. So for each of us, the same is true, right? We take the action, the little actions, the looking, the personal growth, the steps, the what's one thing I can do to improve myself. The staying with. The not necessarily pushing through or striving, because personally, I did a lot of striving and it tends to lead not where I thought it would. So instead of striving these days, I'm more interested in staying with and taking these little steps day by day to improve and to be consistent and to be balanced and whole and multidimensional and not just a runner, because I'm not just a runner. I love musicals. There, I said it. And it makes me want to write one because I'm so inspired. Not that I know how to do that, but what it does is inspire me to be more than what I am now. We all have that potential to be, and it's not like a more, it doesn't have to be anything like someone who revolutionizes Broadway sort of thing. It can be in your day-to-day lives. I mean, who are you impacting in your life? You know, your family, your kids, your nephews in my case. I mean, who are you impacting in those small moments? Who are you becoming and stepping into? What actions are you taking in order to become the kind of person you want to be? And then how are you being patient with it? And then in what ways are you waiting for your life to happen without taking action towards it? In what ways are you waiting and sitting back? In what ways is waiting great? In what ways is sitting back and relaxing into process and relaxing into trust that it's going to go well? That's beautiful too. And then taking action when the moment arises, when the opportunity arises. Carla says, I love musicals. Music Man, Oliver, Fiddler on the Roof, West Side Story. Yes, I love it. Okay, some of my other favorites are Moulin Rouge. These are not necessarily like, they're more movies, but Moulin Rouge, The Greatest Showman. Even The Sound of Music. I rediscovered that a couple years ago and was like, wow, I relate to that differently. And the other thing I'll say is great pieces of art and great books for that matter. You can see again or reread, and because you're in a different place, you'll catch different things. So it might be that you pick up different things, but it may also be that you're different. It may also be that you have changed and now you see something different in it because of where you are now. Awesome. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, okay. I'm hearing some good comments here. They're coming quickly. Yeah, all the rest. So where in your life are you taking action, and that's a wonderful thing, or where is it hurting you? Are you still just acting because that's what you're used to doing? Especially those of us who are achiever type of people. You may be acting and it's a uphill climb, and it's an uphill battle, and maybe it's okay to have seasons and cycles of action and reflection and action and reflection. Kind of like training, right? We need recovery. It's like, interval training. We may not always know how long that will take. And sometimes when we need to stop waiting and get up and act, right? And sometimes when we need to be patient and sit back and relax into the unfolding. And wouldn't it be amazing if we could be doing both at the same time? Oh, I definitely think that that's possible, and that's something that happens probably without even thinking about it or noticing. Maybe start noticing where you're also being patient and taking consistent action. The greatest way to make steps, to make strides, to work towards who you want to become. Because I want for you to become the most full, true version of yourself. That could be a very simple thing too. Again, it doesn't have to be a revolutionizing Broadway kind of thing, but for you as you're a unique person, you know, see where it is acting helps and hurts you. See where it is, take a look inside yourself and see where waiting helps and hurts you, and maybe where the intersection of, oh, I'm acting and waiting. I'm acting and then being patient to see and find out what the outcome is with curiosity and the mystery of it. This is how I'm retraining my mindset, even around running and racing. Okay, how well can I act and take the consistent actions, pull back when I need to, move forward when I need to, and then quote unquote wait or be patient to find out with curiosity what the outcome of the race will be like, without it needing to be one particular way, which oftentimes deprives us of the beauty of the journey, the beauty of what development happens for you along the way, right? How are you transforming as you go along in those day-to-day steps? So I'll leave you with that for today, for tonight. Take a look at yourself around this notion of acting and waiting. Go listen to Hamilton. It's brilliant and amazing. And my favorite song now, it probably wasn't the first time I saw it, but is Wait For It. I just think it's gorgeous, and is this reflection of one of the best motifs in the whole story, in the whole musical, that keeps kind of coming back, which is what makes it so genius and brilliant. So check out Wait For It, and you get a sense of how Aaron Burr, who's kind of taken to be maybe the villain or the bad guy, and you get an understanding instead of who he is, and it makes sense why he's acting the way he is. So another thing we can see for ourselves, and you can look inside yourself to see, is, oh, I'm doing these things. What is it about my history? What is it about my conditioning that leads me to act in this way, that leads me to or not act in this way? And it might make sense. And in understanding yourself, I wholeheartedly believe when we understand ourselves, we have a better ability to understand those around us. And so it always starts with us as far as change. Hey, Jeff. So acting versus waiting, and let yourself be inspired by whatever it is, musicals, art, theater, things that are not in your head. Our culture is so in our head, so mental, so mind-oriented. What lets you feel something? Maybe it's just a flower. Maybe it's a piece of music. Maybe it's a whole piece of art. Who knows? Whatever it is. Maybe it's my nephew creating this Lego vehicle and they put all the Lego colors in different little islands, and I don't know, I just wonder at all these amazing things in life, yourself included. Just about where in life do you feel appropriate to take action or to wait? Oh, thanks, Carlos. Yeah, I'll have to see what the rest of that said. So please leave your comments and questions. I love this conversation. Let me know what your biggest inspirations are and what it leads you to wonder about in awe, what it leads you to want to go to the next level in your life. And again, it doesn't mean it has to be something that makes you famous. It could just be, how do you impact the people around you? That's what it's all about, right? Taking care of yourself as well allows you to do that. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me for another episode of SuperSoul Boulder. Join me next Monday night for another talk about another topic. And thanks for joining me. I'm Dr. Lara Johnson from Yellow Brick Physical Therapy in Boulder, Colorado. Also, always feel free to reach out with any questions or information that you're interested in finding out. I love to talk about all of it, especially staying healthy in your body and moving freely and living freely. With that, I bid you good night and take care. Bye. And go watch Hamilton or listen to it. It's awesome. Wait for it.